Here's something I want your help on, or at least getting some feedback on. I want to start this new, very loose, very light-duty initiative for WordPress. And I'm going to call it the Thriving Project, and it's a very 50,000-foot view, bit of a hopeful initiative. But over the next quarter, the next 90-ish days, what I'd like folks to do is write a blog post, do a video, make a podcast, maybe a series of social media posts, a LinkedIn carousel, anything that has the premise of why WordPress? Why do you love using WordPress? Why is WordPress great for powering a chunk of your career? Why should a new blogger use WordPress? Why should we continue to support WordPress while we're on this sort of gold rush of AI? This is something that I've been thinking about since I left PressConf, even prior to PressConf, where there's, we had the WordPress marketing team at one point, and I think anybody who has been in WordPress for quite some time, we kind of know that backstory-ish. The Media Core initiative started by Josepha was a fantastic opportunity to connect media outlets like myself and others to help bolster the messaging of WordPress, but that was ended. And we all know WordPress has a marketing problem. We all know that there's confusion with WordPress.org, WordPress.com. Is WordPress a blogging tool? Is WordPress a professional website development tool? Is it the framework of an app? And again, all of that stuff is in question as we code things with the new Claude 4.0 drop and all these other apps like Replit, Bolt, and so on. But what I'd like to get back to is at least some kind of positive messaging in a very easy lift. And that's the Thriving Initiative, for me anyway. And I'm hopeful that maybe you are listening to this, maybe you work for somebody, and you can kind of like pass this along, work for somebody who uses WordPress, or you're working at an agency using WordPress. Maybe you can pass this along to your marketing or branding person. But I just want to start at a very easy lift, and that is to create a Why WordPress piece. One of the things I think was always a challenge with the marketing team was it was all volunteer-led. Sure, you'd have somebody from Automatic, but it was largely volunteer-led. In traditional marketing, well, maybe you need some data, maybe you need some insights, maybe you need to have direct connection to a product team. If those of you who live the day-to-day of marketing, you kind of know that, where you need to talk to customers, you need to have some data, you need to talk to product, you need to talk to engineering, you need to talk to the stakeholders in the company, the C-suite team, the ownership, et cetera, et cetera. And in this sort of like silo of what the WordPress marketing team was, that was very challenging, right? Of course, how do you give volunteers that kind of access to data, right? That's one sort of, that was one issue that I could also see the other side's opposition against. And at the same time, it's like, well, how do we help clear up this ambiguity of .com, .org, or is it that we just don't want to? So this acts as that sort of, I don't want to say replacement, but like leading towards marketing WordPress. And I think we need to start at the essence of why WordPress. What makes it the thing that makes you proud, or at the very least, is the smart decision for your business. If that's like an agency business, if that's a writing business, if it's a media company, if you're selling stuff with WooCommerce, that's what I want to talk about. Why WordPress? And I'll just give a piece of like my why WordPress, which obviously is part of my career and has been for nearly 20 years at this point, starting an agency, working at a hosting company, now working at Gravity Forms. It's sort of like this bridge to open publishing, which I'm a huge fan of through podcasting. But besides all of like the technical aspects, I've always really liked WordPress and always wanted it to thrive because it was like this core component to learning how to use the web, learning how software is made, learning how businesses are made. It enables somebody to get a career. Once you kind of like master the WordPress, like one might master a miter saw, or how one might master playing soccer, or like whatever it is in your particular profession, it's this thing that is portable and it enables things greater than the software itself, which is why I think WordPress is so powerful and so important. But once again, it's in the crosshairs of all of that going away. So that's sort of an inflection point of why WordPress for me. And I hope that you can share your why WordPress with others. And what I'm going to be doing is scooping up all of these why WordPress posts, videos, podcasts, social media posts, etc., and sharing that on the many podcasts and the many live streams that I do in order to amplify that message and to amplify your efforts. And that's really it. Like, I think we can do it as light duty as that, where, okay, you're not volunteering for a marketing team for WordPress and all of your efforts are, either going into the abyss or going to WordPress.org. And, those that do volunteer are sometimes like, well, what am I getting, out of this other than WordPress getting better? Well, I think we can market WordPress. We can do marketing for WordPress, which benefits WordPress and also benefits your own brand. Again, if you're looking for ideas for blog posts, this is one of them. It can turn into a series of blog posts or podcasts or YouTube videos, etc. So it's a little bit of how I see the whole commons work. You're giving back by promoting WordPress. You're getting some content and hopefully some traffic as we all amplify this messaging that's going out. So that's the hope anyway, and we'll see where this little experiment goes. It's just an idea that I've been noodling for a while, and I just wanted to get it off my chest and out into the public. So will you help me with this thriving project? All you have to do is make some content about why WordPress.